Hello. Just another Rambles video for you all. I haven't done one of these in a while, and quite a lot's happened since the last time I did a Rambles video. I'm aware that a lot of the content that I put up is currently Goat Energy reviews. Not really a lot I can do about that, to be honest. I'm trying to push a brand that I believe in, and I truly believe that they are as good as what I say they are. I drink it constantly, and it's actually helped me in my life get me off Monster and Red Bull. So yeah, sorry about that, but I believe in it, and I'm going to keep pushing it because they sponsor the podcast. They do absolute bits for me at the moment. They're sending me so much stuff, and I can't thank them enough. They're being absolutely fantastic. I work for the NHS, and I've recently managed to actually get 24 cans over to one of the NHS sites that I used to work at, and they're giving it all out completely for free. And I've never had a more positive interaction with a business. So yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way early doors. So I went to London on Friday. Went to see N-DUBZ of all people. Now, if you know me in real life, you'll know I'm not really into N-DUBZ, but my girlfriend and some of her mates wanted to go, so we went, and we had a great time. I hated it when I first got there. Flipping hated it. I thought, this is not where I want to be right now. I felt like a fish out of water. I've got a sort of level of functioning anxiety, especially when I'm in crowds of people, when I'm in London and stuff, and everything's just like 80 miles an hour. Everything's constantly like running at a high velocity. Whereas down here in the southwest in Dorset, which is where my funny voice comes from, everything kind of runs a bit slower and a little bit more low sort of priority. But London's like a real like sensory sort of overload for me. But I went to Lush in Oxford Street the day after seeing N-DUBZ. Went to, what's it called? Forbidden Planet, I think it's called. It's like a bookshop. It's a bit of a sort of nostalgia-y, nerdy comic book shop, Funko Pops up to the brim, all that stuff. Yeah, I had a great time. One thing I will say about N-DUBZ, actually, there's a few things I'll say about N-DUBZ. Dappy, what a legend. He fully leans into the character on stage. He, for some reason, wears a belt. Absolutely no idea why he wears a belt, because his trousers are around his ankles pretty much the entire time he's on stage. He had to constantly remind himself who he was every single song. He ended nearly every single song by saying, we are the one and only N-DUBZ, as if he needed to kind of like reassure himself that that's like what band he was in at that time. On a serious note though, it's great to see him back. They put on one hell of a show. I think it's Talisa, Phaser, and Dappy. They are N-DUBZ, and they've got a DJ called Maze Beats, and I thought it was pretty decent. The one thing that I will say though is, if you go to a gig in London and you want to buy a drink, be prepared to go into your overdraft, because I bought one Brewdog can, and I bought Alex, sorry about the noise, I'm at a lay-by. I bought Alex a rum and coke. So guess how much that came to? Let me know in the comments, and I'll let you know if you're right. So that's one Brewdog, Planet Pale Ale, I think it was, and a Bacardi and Coke. I think it was Bacardi spiced rum off the top of my head. Let me know what you think in the comments that came to in London at a gig. It was horrendous. I felt sick. But you're screwed basically, because you're in like an enclosed area, so it's their price or don't buy a drink basically. I filmed number one, which was one of their last songs. I think they all ended with a song called Playing with Fire. I'm not very au fait with N-DUBZ, so sorry if I've got that wrong. But they kind of like introed every song as well with like a little joke. Like, if there's someone toxic in your life, then this song's called blah blah blah, and it kind of tied in with what they were talking about. So like every song kind of had a monologue, and then at the end of every song it was Dappy talking about the fact that he's in a band, which we're obviously aware of because we're watching it. But yeah, I had a great time. I don't really know who supported. I wasn't really that fussed about who supported. They all seemed quite sort of teenagey and moody, and it kind of captured the whole vibe of what N-DUBZ was probably like when they first started and all that sort of stuff. So it's probably the most I've ever seen Pink Lambrini get drunk. I'll put it that way. There's a hell of a lot of women there. It's quite rare that I go to a gig now, as in like a metal band or a rock band, and see more than like 9 or 10 girls or women, and this was the complete flip. Like, the Premier Inn that me, Alex, and some of her friends stayed at, fuck me, man, that place got swarmed by women. There's actually quite a lot of people from Weymouth as well, which is quite strange, because you think, like, you know, if you travel 4 hours to London, then you're probably not going to see people, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, so, main point of this video, other than drink goat energy, because it allows you to just keep going and going, and I don't ever feel any come down now because it's all natural, baby. Point of this video is kind of just a bit of an observation, really, of like a social commentary of the way that we treat each other now is really, really bad. Like, I'm not going into specifics, but I've had a couple of people in my life recently where, rather than actually have a conversation with people, which is quite ironic because one of these people actually runs a podcast, which is literally people having conversations with each other, it's actually easier nowadays to just block people and tell people to shut up and silence them than actually have like a constructive like discussion and debate. It's easier to just like block someone on WhatsApp or block someone on Instagram, and it's really bad. Like, there doesn't seem to be much loyalty nowadays to anything. Like, for example, I've banked with the same bank my entire life. I think I got a current account with Nationwide since I was probably about 14. I think I got like a young savers account with my mum. We went there and set it up. I'm now 33, so I've had 19 years with the same bank. And if I was to leave the bank, they'd just be like, yeah, cool, bye. And I think, like, that's quite a level of, like, loyalty that I've had to them. And we now live in this world of, like, Money Supermarket and Compare the Meerkat, where we're just constantly on, like, comparison sites and stuff. And I just think to myself, like, it's always just about the easiest and most convenient thing, isn't it? It's not about, oh, actually, he's my friend and I want to see him succeed, and we've had a bit of a disagreement on one thing, but I'm actually going to, like, confront it and try and kind of get a middle ground. It's just like, nah, I don't believe what you're saying, or I don't agree with what you're saying, so I'm just going to completely dislike... What's the expression? I'm just going to completely unbind myself from you and just disallow you to have an opinion on things. Like, imagine, right? Imagine if the world... Imagine if every single person that you met had exactly the same beliefs as you, and every single person was exactly the same. Do you imagine how boring that would be? Like, I don't know. Just, even in, like, relationships, like, if someone... I don't know. Just... It's easier to just split up with people now and just go out with people, like, no strings attached, and hooking up with people, and, like... I think this is a bit deep, considering I was just talking about Dappy's trousers. But I don't think there's much, what's the expression? Like, what am I trying to say? Like, people are scared of commitment, is basically what I'm trying to say. And it's really scary. Like, just because you don't get what you want, it doesn't mean you should, like, absolutely throw your toys out the pram and start screaming. Like, you're not 12. You can't just scream every time you don't get what you want and just la 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 la, fingers in the ears. Like, just, I don't get it. It's really weird. But yeah, like, going back to my original point, the only way to have decent conversations with people is to have the conversation. You can't just shut people down and, like, slam a door on them, physically or virtually, because all you're going to do is wind each other up. And I don't know. Like, in one of my recent relationships, I'm so happy in my current one, it's actually fucking mad. But I thought it was easier to just walk off and just go for like 3-hour walks in my local area to then have to eventually go back to the house with the person in. And in the moment, it feels great because you're like driving away from the problem and you're liberating yourself and you're refusing to hear that person's side of the story. But long term, it's really damaging. Like, you can't just job hop your way through life every single time someone tells you to do something that you don't want to do. You don't just quit your job. Unless you've got no obligations and you've got no rent and you've got no car and finance and you just can literally, like, if you're young, I imagine you can just do that. But I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be any repercussions for just saying, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. Like, we've all got bills to pay. We've all got rent to pay. We've all got mortgages to pay. We've all got fuel to put in our cars, which I need to do in a sec. But yeah, just, I don't know. It's strange, isn't it? Weird times. Weird times where we can just, we're kind of like the most extreme version of activism at the moment, where we're just like, I suppose it kind of stems from cancel culture, where if you don't agree with what something or someone says, then you can just immediately tell them and be like, I'm unfollowing Jeremy Clarkson because he doesn't believe in blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, like Piers Morgan's quite a polarizing figure, isn't he? And people boycott entire TV channels because he might come on or something. But yeah, weird, sad, depressing times, guys. Someone recently told me that I post quite a lot of depressing content. And I was like, what? I post real content. I post actual life. Not, hi guys, everything's fine. Flowers and rainbows and unicorns and cute stuff. Like, that's not real. That's fabricated bullshit. And you're playing up to the camera to try and alienate your audience. If people don't want to watch this, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the people that do, thank you. But yeah, everyone's got a camera, everyone's got an internet connection. So I'd love to know what you all think. And yeah, shout out N-DUBZ. I might try and find their email address and get them on the podcast at some point. But yeah, that's kind of my main points done. Just to leave, to close this all off, I'm actually looking for some expansion within the ABP universe. It's a universe now. I'm looking for an overflow video editor, so when John is absolutely flat out in life with his job and his family and other commitments that he's got outside of editing, I need someone that can kind of pick it up and run with it. I'll pay you per upload. I'm probably going to create like a job description. It's not like, do you know what I mean? It's just a hobby, for fuck's sake. But I think it's time to really start getting content out. Like, I want the wheel to keep turning. There's been a few times this year where the wheel has completely stopped. And I then have to resort to doing things like this, where I'm just talking into the camera and uploading it straight away onto YouTube. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. But yeah, I hope everyone's well. And I hope that there aren't people sort of feeling like this, really, because I don't know, it's just weird. It just feels wrong. You can't just flip a table every time someone disagrees with you, or just, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm gonna stop listening. Like take Blue Van Man, for example, right? He'll post whatever he wants. He doesn't really care if people watch it. And I think he's fully aware now, Blue Van Man, bless him. I think he's fully aware now that his eating videos do the best on his channel. But if you look on his channel, it's one of the most diverse channels on YouTube. A lot of it's all like strung around reviewing stuff. But I think he's doing it the right way. But I speak to him on WhatsApp and he's like, I don't have a theme. I post what I want when I want, and I quite admire that, really, that he's not tied to anyone. He doesn't owe anyone anything. He's not under any obligation to do anything. Like when I got into review Go Energy, it was one of the nicest things I've never met him. and he's lovely. I'd love to meet him at some point, but he's busy, so sometimes YouTube takes a back seat. Yeah, right, this is long, so yeah, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, as I've just explained. You just fuck off. Coming up, we've probably got some review videos. Me and Casper are probably going to sit down and do some sweets and some not energy drinks, soft drinks, sorry, carbonated drinks, fizzy drinks. Right, I'm going to make a move because I've got a red light on the fuel tank. So I'll catch you in a bit, and keep it bedlam. Bye.